A lot of what we do on these videos is building things, having fun, even goofing off sometimes. But today is going to be a little more about the heart and soul of this channel and why I started it. I've got two important places to show you. I hope you'll stick around until the end. Like 9/11, pretty much everyone old enough to remembers where they were in 2020. I've heard a lot of people's stories. Some were tough and some were great. Some took the time off and grew as a family. It was a tough season for our family for a lot of reasons. I came into 2020 with very little margin in my life. Some tough things I'd been running from for a long time, things we will talk about at another time. But in 2020, with no margin, every new thing was just another brick in an already overloaded cart. Normally, I'd have leaned on my faith in a stretch like that, but by this time, I was in a daze, having served in a bivocational ministry for the past 10 years, fatigued and burned out. And now with the world turned upside down, I added confused to the list. So instead of turning to my faith, I turned to this, 40 acres. I put everything I had into improving it, started building for the future I'd always dreamed of. Just about every day that summer I wasn't flying, and there wasn't much flying in 2020. I was out here doing something. Most of the time I was just the muscle. I relied on family who had the experience. I'm thankful for every one of them who helped transform this place into something special in just 2 months. We cleared trees, installed driveways, cut trails through the woods. We got stuck cutting trails through the woods. Not all heroes wear capes, by the way. That's my dad Ben bailing me out again. When he had finally gotten me free, we built bridges to avoid getting stuck again. We built 2 pavilions, a swingzebo better than I imagined we could. We even laid a cobblestone path to connect everything that was pretty impressive to look at once complete. We made a playpen for our dogs and a catio for our cats. We had supervision the whole time, although she wasn't always the easiest to work for. We made sure to take plenty of time to play hard. We slept out here, we laughed, we ran away from a world that didn't seem to make sense anymore. I closed on the land in late July. This is late September 2020. This day was the climax. The place looked immaculate. ATVs running in every direction. A lot of our family and friends came out to celebrate this new chapter with us. That night we sat by the fire, watched movies on a projector. The temperature was near perfect. We were with the people we love most in the world. From the end of July until the end of September, we worked almost every day to bring the land in the condition that I just showed you. This is what it looks like now. I went into that fall with plans to build a house in 2021. Family was even going to join us out here. I figured I'd spend the rest of my years building and adding endlessly. But before long, all of it started to come apart. There wasn't going to be any more building out here. And that hurt bad once I realized it. The thing I clung to when I needed solid rock was actually built on sand. It was never meant to hold me up. And the hits didn't stop there. I thought at any time I might lose my dream job of being a pilot. I was fighting week to week to support someone very close to me battling a life and death crisis. In December of 2020, we agreed to let our son adopt a kitten. He picked the one on the right here. That's Peanut. She's the mastermind of our house. Because we were struggling to say goodbye to her sister, they offered to let us adopt her for half off. So the one on the left is Evie. She was mine. But then she got deathly ill in just a couple of months, and I spent the better part of 2021 trying to cure an incurable disease at the time called FIP. Cost me $7,000 because I wasn't willing to give up on one more thing. Some of you will understand that right away because our animals are our babies. And if you don't, at least understand it's a picture of how little tolerance I had left for emotional pain. In December of 2021, a close cousin was very sick, so I traveled to pray for her in person. Thankfully, she got better in time, but that trip was also the last time I would see Aunt Bonnie alive. Bonnie died in January of 2022. She was a mentor to me in the faith and prayed for me even when I hadn't asked for it or knew that I needed it. My cousin Kevin, who was a Marine, mentored me when I was a new Marine. He died unexpectedly the next month in February. My Aunt Brenda, who took care of me the 6 months after I got out of boot camp, when I was only 18 and away from home for the first time, died a few weeks after that in March of 2022. If September of 2020 was the peak, March 2022 was the bottom. So I reached for another safe place. The world was turning back on again and work needed me to fly a lot. So I flew every day possible in 2022 and 2023. And on the days I was required to rest from flying, I did renovations at home. But the winters were the worst because I had less things to distract myself with. My weight actually swung 60 pounds twice. I couldn't handle any more emotional pain, so I withdrew from just about everyone and everything I believed could cause any. In 2023, we found the place we live now, just 3 miles from the 40 acres we bought in 2020. But I wasn't willing to let go of this yet. Letting go meant giving up on something that had meant so much, and I desperately needed it to mean something. So it sat 3 more years waiting for that something. I've spent that time working on myself. I've learned how to rest. I'm not nearly as confused as I was, and I'm figuring out where to put my trust again in the only thing that doesn't die or change or leave. I've gotten healthy enough over the past year to understand that it's enough to be thankful for that summer in 2020. I shared it with people I love doing things I love. It doesn't have to mean more than that. So I'm letting it go. I sign the papers in a few days, and somebody else runs with whatever vision they've got for this land. I've got my hands full with the place I call home now, the place you already know if you've been watching. So let's go home. I've got a second place to show you. I told you at the beginning I wanted to show you two special places to me. We just saw the first one. We're walking to the second one now. But on the way there, I want to tell you what my recent health scare taught me. My dad had to have quadruple bypass surgery 6 years ago. His cardiologist recommended that all of his sons stay on top of getting our own hearts checked. So I did that about 3 weeks ago. And while my heart came back clear, they saw some things on my lungs that concerned them. And so I had to go get more tests last week. And I just got the results today. It's pretty scary. And if you've never been through that, take my word for it, it's pretty scary. Now, as I've told the people close to me a few times, I'm really not afraid of dying. The act of death. I've been in the room when people close to me have died. And I think for a believer, that's actually a pretty sacred thing. I think God gives us grace in life, and He gives us grace in death. But my fears were rooted in other things, like leaving my loved ones behind, or having my parents know that their child is sick, actually losing health. Very scary. And watching my wife go through that process was just as bad as going through it myself. And it took 7 days from start to finish, almost to the hour. But I think God taught me something through this. I've told you in the past that I went through a personal crisis, and that it was last year. Last year is just when the load became too hard to bear. There was actually a storm brewing a few years before that. And there were signs. As many of you know, I'm a pilot. I was a pilot in the Marines, and I was a pilot for a major airline. And I can no longer do that job because of a mental health diagnosis. But I'm also an ordained minister. I also have a seminary degree. And one of the first signs of a brewing crisis in my life was while serving in ministry, I lost a joy to serve. And then when 2020 hit and the load started becoming almost unbearable during that season of my life, I began to grasp at things to satisfy, things to comfort. And I think the land was that thing at that season of my life, but there's been others. But here in 2026, I've been grieving the loss of all of these things. The loss of a career that I worked 30 years to build. The fact that I'm not actively serving in ministry anymore. And my counselor asked me last week, what is it that you're so afraid of? And she encouraged me to pray about that and ask God directly. So I did. And here's what I knew to be true over the course of a few days. I'm scared that I've been playing it too safe. And what I mean by that is I've been too afraid of pain, of emotional pain, of loss, of grief. The Apostle Paul said to Timothy, Last letter he wrote while he was still alive: I've run my race. I've fought the good fight. One of my biggest fears is not being able to say that with a clear conscience when God calls me home. And make no mistake, we all have an appointed time to die. There is nobody getting out of here alive. And that's okay. God gave us grace in life. He'll give us grace in death. Just like you, God has gifted me in certain ways. He's given me talents and abilities to serve Him with my whole heart and to serve people and love people. And so I'm not going to play it safe anymore. And I hope that you're not playing it safe. I hope you're doing the things that God has called you to do. So we've arrived at where I want to show you. I call this place the heart of this land. It's at the center of the 30 acres here. And to me, this is sacred ground. If there's one place I could choose to spend time with God, it's here. And I hope you have your own place like this too. For the past week, I've spent quite a bit of time on this very ground, pouring my heart out to God, praying for my family, praying for myself. If you're going through something difficult right now and you feel alone, just let us know. We would be glad to pray for you through this season. And God is faithful. Philippians 4:6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus." God has promised to never leave or forsake you, no matter where you're at in life, and you can stand on His promise. God loves you, and I love you. Debrief complete.